Since 2023, the demographic dividend is gone, and the simple factor dividend is also gone. However, among the factors of production, there is still an important dividend, the institutional dividend. China is a dual economy, with both state-owned and private capital, as well as domestic and foreign investment. If we can establish a fair competition law, rather than treating certain entities differently, such as creating a separate law for the private sector or formulating special support policies, we should focus on creating a neutral competitive environment. The market order should be unified, and the legal environment should also be unified. We have always emphasized the need to build a unified national market. Whether it's equal status for market entities, a neutral competitive environment, or fairness and the rule of law in market competition, these unleash tremendous potential and resilience. After nearly 40 years of market economy development, we must recognize that the market economy grows and thrives through market competition. The government needs to establish a fair competitive environment by loosening societal restrictions, transforming government functions, implementing government enterprise separation, and having government withdraw from socioeconomic participation to provide public goods/services, enormous dividends can be created. This dividend may far surpass the demographic dividend and the market dividend from global division of labor. This is why I have become optimistic, because I see where the resilience and flexibility lie. China indeed still has cards to play. With resources in hand, there is no need to panic. The release of institutional dividends will profoundly impact the venture capital industry. It will take time. This is new, and our cognitive abilities have limitations. When developing a market economy, we are still beginners. We've only been in the market 22 years, and it's only been a little over 40 years since the college entrance examination resumed. After institutional dividends are released, the venture capital industry will be affected. The principal contradiction in the new era is the contradiction between people's ever-growing needs for a better life and unbalanced, inadequate development. It is clear that China's economic and social development will revolve around this central theme. The first aspect is to seek productivity from scientific and technological progress, to improve labor productivity. The second is that China is a large country with a population of 1.4 billion, and the people have aspirations for a better life. Developing the consumer service industry and transitioning to a consumption-oriented society is necessary. So what's the country's next focus? Personally, I believe we still rely on the consumer service industry. In Q3 this year, final consumption expenditures contribution to economic growth reached 94.8%. In 2020-2022, this figure was mostly between 50% and 70%. This is an undeniable fact. Although there are currently some challenges for consumer companies going public, I believe this is only temporary. It's a short-sighted, knee-jerk reaction that lacks long-term strategic vision. In the short term, given the limited resources for capital market issuance, supporting technology companies that address critical bottlenecks does have a certain rationale. But in the long run, does that mean the consumer and service industries don't need support and development? We can't pit consumption against technology, forcing the market to make an either-or choice. On the contrary, as pillars of the national economy and industries in their own right, both technology and consumer services must be developed well. We cannot implement discriminatory industrial policies in the name of so-called development. Consumption and technology are two sides of the same coin in economic and social development, and they are also the two most important elements of the national economy: technological progress and consumption support. Consumption creates application scenarios for technology. For example, companies like A24 who are now all investing in government projects. But another factor that sustains them is the consumer market. Consumer enterprises are the clients, the demand side, for technology companies. Without consumption scenarios, how can technology companies survive? Many technology companies, due to being disconnected from consumer enterprises, face two problems. One is declining revenue and plummeting stock prices, and the other is not making a profit. Why are Huawei phones so good? Because they have a huge consumer base. At its core, it is a consumer electronics industry, and its ability to continuously achieve technological iteration and progress is premised on the support of a vast consumer market. Take Google in the United States, for example. Whether it's Apple or Tesla, at their core, they are all consumer companies. All technology ultimately serves practical use. We must put consumers at the center. So, Consumption and technology are not in opposition. There should be no discrimination between them. For example, those in technology shouldn't look down on consumption. Those in consumption shouldn't think technology unreliable. Policy should reflect this. It shouldn't encourage a choice between the two. Supporting technology shouldn't mean not supporting consumption, and vice versa. The two should develop in coordination. In fact, consumption costs will ultimately be passed on to the technology industry. Consumption creates jobs. It addresses people's livelihood issues. Technology represents progress and efficiency, but it cannot solve the problem of massive employment. If everyone were to work in technology, in AI, in computing power, in large models, or in new apps, how many jobs would that actually create? Does that mean people without such high-level skills don't deserve to live? We need to develop the consumer service industry to absorb employment and generate tax revenue. Once collected, the government gains financial resources to support technological development. Without consumption, technology loses its vital growth source. This vital source comes from consumption. Today, how many people or industries can generate such significant tax revenue? It's the consumer industry. Consumption accounts for 90% of economic growth contribution. It's the industry that contributes the most. How can you say it's not important? Can you look down on them and prevent them from using the capital market to continue growing stronger? Does China really never need its own Coca-Cola? Does it not need its own McDonald's, its own KFC, its own Apple? Are you saying that today's Huawei, Xiaomi, and Li Auto are not important? Discriminating against consumption is essentially restricting technology in reverse, because technology would lose its market and applications. Take the Chinese fast food brand Home Original Chicken that we invested in. It's a traditional fast food company, but in reality, it's highly digitalized. It has many innovations, such as AI-powered automatic checkout and digital management across the entire supply chain, all of which utilize a great deal of new technology and digital solutions. How are chip companies to survive? How can SaaS companies survive? Too few real, stable customers come from the market. Most AI companies rely on government investment, and now they're under pressure. Take chip companies. Their applications are limited to areas like smartphones and cars. How can technology be applied? How can it be implemented? The tech industry's bubble is now obvious, and everyone is aware. For known reasons, society hasn't effectively regulated or reflected on problems caused by the tech bubble. In the past, we faced much pressure from critical bottlenecks. So encouraging technological innovation is the right approach to new things, and it's normal to see bubbles in the early stages of development. As a country determined to achieve high-level, high-quality development, we need to learn how to manage these bubbles. We need to skim off the foam and enjoy the coffee. Speculation and investment have always gone hand in hand, but the focus should be on value investing, though speculation cannot be completely eliminated. Otherwise, market liquidity would decrease. It's just like how the stock market has both value investors and arbitrage funds. We need to implement macroprudential management, which essentially means reducing market friction while encouraging active trading and maintaining stability.